Beardos, widows, balls of ghouls, how are we all doing? Today, I'm going to be talking to you about debunking and the things that people get wrong about debunking and debunkers. So recently I received an email that piqued my interest. Simply Strange, aka Ben, has done a debunking video. I'm not looking, at least the guy knows what he's looking for because of his history with faking the paranormal. Makes sense. And then I put on my TV, and despite how many times I say do not recommend this channel to me anymore, it keeps getting recommended. And the beginning auto-played, and I was like, interesting. Not interesting in regards to his debunking, because I didn't get that far. It's what he said about debunking that's stirred a little conversation that I want to have. This is Simply Strange.
Debunk something is a very, very bold claim.
Not always. To debunk something is 9 times out of 10 common sense.
But I'm not going to say that, well, you know... Actually, I'm going to start that again. To debunk something is a very bold claim. To debunk something you have...
Why didn't you edit that bit out? If you're going to make a video about debunking, where a lot of people are going to watch it just because they think you're going to take shots at people, maybe get your intro right, because this just shows no care to something that could have been a big video for you. Most people are going to click off there. Not being toxic, it's some friendly advice.
Have to claim that you are able to 100% prove that something is fake, right?
And that is where you were wrong, Ben. Absolutely wrong. Debunking is not 100% calling something fake. There are a great many things, but we'll get to that.
Right? And, you know, like, the term debunk is used to kind of discredit something or whatever.
Negative connotations, again, it's not always used to discredit something. It is, debunking, for the most part, is used to show what the truth is. Doesn't necessarily mean fake. It could mean misguided, misunderstood, misinterpreted.
And I guess there's no other term for it, but I'm going to take a look at some top 5 videos.
And that's where we get away from him. Debunking is calling things fake. No, it's not. Whilst there is a lot of fakery in the paranormal, there always has been, it is not necessarily calling things fake. We can go back to the 1800s where people were caught faking their paranormal shenanigans. I'll get to that in a little bit. But debunking for a lot of people is things like REM pods are inherently flawed because of radio signals, because if you're in a built-up area, taxis, police, ambulance, fire service, your own two-way radios will interfere. Certain car keys will interfere. Mobile phones not in airplane mode will interfere. Your K2. Nobody knows how to use a K2 properly. I used one wrong for years. It's got to be spun 360 and for hours and hours and hours to get a baseline reading. I never did that. I just wandered around like a tit doing that. Ooh, it flashed. I have since learned very, very different, and I have now, well, I gave them away. I gave my K2 away. I gave the K2 away. I didn't call myself fake. I didn't say, oh my god, I have been faking for 9 years that I've owned that K2 for? I mean, faking. I just misunderstood the device. I misunderstood the readings, but there is no readings. There's 5 flashy lights. It doesn't give you readings like, ooh, weak EMF, strong EMF, but we don't know what those readings are. I didn't understand how AC and DC currents could affect it. Nothing. I'm just going, ooh, look, flashy, like all of these ghost hunting shows. That was my mistake, something that I have corrected. That is something that I debunked myself on from doing research, from watching people like Kenny Biddle. So it's not inherently fake, and it's not inherently evil or bad for me to say the K2 doesn't work in the way we think it does, because that is scientific fact. If I'm watching a paranormal investigation team, we won't use anyone in particular, they've got under 500 subscribers, they're walking around and they claim that they have caught a shadow figure on camera, and you're watching the video, there's a second camera angle lined up and you're like, I know what that is. That shadow figure is your finger moving past the IR bar. That's not calling them fake. That is saying they have made a mistake and I have spotted what that mistake is. If they react to the following, oh yeah, you could be right. That's great. If they react with, you toxic, nasty narcissist, how dare you have told the truth, then they probably knew what caused it in the first place and thought they could get away with it. But even then, you can't 100% say fake. There's nothing inherently wrong with that. If a team says, look at this ghostly voice we've captured, and they're like 400 subscribers, it's the second investigation, you're like, That's a dog bark. But you don't have an external microphone on your camera. You're using the camera's microphone, and you've misconstrued a sound in editing. It's kind of wobbly and whatever. It's a mistake. We can point those mistakes out. You can learn from those mistakes. There is nothing wrong with that. I've captured a ghost on camera. Look. And then they produce an SLS device. It's an Xbox Connect bar with a tablet underneath it for a view screen. And they do this. That's not a stick figure because that device is meant to be set at around 5'3", 5'5" to 6 foot in height off the ground, stationary, underneath or on top of your TV to capture your movements, to map your movements. The second you start moving that and something appears, you've gotten yourself a false positive. Is everybody that gets that false positive fake? No, they're not. They're just misinformed because they have watched shows that know that it's fake and continue to push it as evidence. And they've just learned from the wrong people. I do apologise, my Elgato facecam has died again for no good reason. Those people are not fake, they are misinformed because they have been watching the wrong TV shows. It's as simple as that. It is what they do after they've seen a debunker saying, you can't move that thing, that's a false positive. If they continue after that point, then they are faking. However, there are people out there that are faking the SLS stick figure stuff. Really Haunted is actually overlaying stick figures into his videos. That is fake, and he has been spotted because of 2 different programs. Go watch my old Really Haunted stuff. You'll see what I mean. The mistake then is people will copy what he does because he doesn't remove his about, put it up in a room, and then they're like, ooh, did I just capture a stick figure? No, you didn't. Because if there's no outline of a person that the IR is bouncing back off, there's nothing there. It's mapped something else. It's confused because it's looking for a person. That's why you get the wibbly wobbly arms. Never doing that again. Doesn't mean those people are fake that have set those up in their home. Same as people that are using Ring doorbells and cheap CCTV. I get daily emails of, I think my house may be haunted, can you check this out? And I've had to stop replying to them because it's always a bug or a cobweb. It's as simple as that. Ring doorbells is like, oh, this person's disappeared. No, they've just gone away from the focal point. I've got one. It does it all the time. Especially in night vision mode because the quality reduces drastically. Are those people fake? No. They have watched these top 5 channels and they have been misinformed. Nothing wrong with that as long as they're willing to learn. So, the be all and end all is, debunking isn't just there to call people fake. It is about misidentification. It is about people making mistakes, and it's about fakery. With this thing that debunkers are nasty, horrible people and all the rest of it, you need to understand the history of debunking a little bit. For example, Harry Houdini, a very famous magician. You've probably heard of him. Maybe you don't know that he was a debunker. He debunked the paranormal, and he focused on spiritualism and mediums. Harry Houdini, a magician, very famous magician, used his knowledge of illusions to expose fraudulent spiritualists and mediums. These people claimed they could communicate with the dead, and he proved that was not what they were doing. He used to attend seances where nobody knew who he was, and then he would demonstrate how they've done this phenomena. For example, table tipping. I learned how table tipping was faked because of Harry Houdini. He also debunked spirit knocks and things like that as, you know, the hammer toe. Very famous cases. He also exposed a very famous spiritual medium known as Marjorie. Her real name was Mina Crandon. And he revealed her tricks in basically taking money from people to talk to their dead relatives. Who's the evil person there? Who's the nasty person there? Who's the person in the wrong? Harry Houdini, who saw that these illusions were taking money from people and convincing them they were talking to their dead relatives. We'll move on to James Randi. Now, I'm a big fan of James Randi. I've ordered some books from James Randi, and he focused on psychics, faith healers, and general paranormal claims. One of his most famous debunks was his debunk of Uri Geller. You know, the spoon-bending idiot. And that's what I'm going to call him, because he convinced the world that he had these X-Men-like psychic abilities to bend metal. It was not the case. It was all a trick. And James Randi exposed it as basically sleight of hand. He also discredited Peter Popoff. Peter Popoff was a evangelist, faith healer, a scumbag. And Randi revealed that Popoff was using a two-way radio and an earpiece to gain information about the audience. So who's wrong there? James Randi also established the $1 Million Challenge. And the $1 Million Challenge, if you don't know, is if you have the ability to prove the existence of the paranormal or psychic abilities, James Randi would have paid you $1 million. That prize pot was never, ever claimed. Nobody could prove it. There's another equivalent. I think in America it's like 50 grand now that Kenny Biddle is involved in. Whereas if you can prove your psychic abilities or proof of the paranormal, they'll give you 50 grand. Nobody's claimed it. How evil of these people to offer substantial, life-changing amounts of money for a lot of people to prove their abilities, and nobody can do it. And more magicians, Penn and Teller. Now, if you're of my age, born in the 80s, you'll know exactly who Penn and Teller are. Penn and Teller were frequently on my TV on a Saturday night, especially on Boxing Day and New Year's Day. They would feature at some point. And they debunked general paranormal claims, pseudoscience, and mysticism. They even had a TV show called Penn and Teller Bullshit. They tackled things like alien abductions, psychic readings, and general ghost hunting. And they basically exposed a lack of evidence and then the logical flaws behind the claims that were made. Next, we'll look at somebody called Joe Nickel. Joe Nickel focused on ghosts, UFOs, cryptids, and miraculous phenomena. And he was famous for debunking the Amityville horror. He demonstrated inconsistencies in the stories, and he basically highlighted all of the lack of evidence for any supernatural events to have taken place at that location. He also misidentified hoaxes and misidentifications of Nessie the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. We look at Richard Wiseman, that looked at ghosts, psychic abilities, and parapsychology. And he conducted tons and tons of experiments to test psychic phenomena. And he found no conclusive evidence at all that psychic phenomena exists. He investigated haunted locations and he showed environmental factors up. He was the guy that I'm aware of that brought infrasound to the fore. How infrasound could give you the feeling of a ghost being present. Or at the very least, the unease that is attributed to a ghost being present. Lastly, I'll mention Benjamin Radford. He was famous for his work on cryptids, haunted locations, and urban legends. The one that I'm aware of, and this was something that I learned at a Paracon years ago, there was a lady called Ree Rowlands. She did a talk on cryptozoology, and Benjamin Radford was brought up into him investigating the Chupacabra. And he basically traced the origins to a combination of folklore and mangy canines. There was a famous photograph, I'm not sure if this was Benjamin Radford, of a dog that had fallen into water when it had died. It had expanded and decomposed, and it looked like some sort of demonic thing. It was a bloated, dead, decomposing dog. And he also debunked ghost sightings with environmental factors, but he did like camera artifacts and psychological biases. So obviously the reason I wanted to cover this and the reason I wanted to bring this up is it's not simply because of Simply Strange. It is because of this. We get it, all of the debunkers get this in the comment sections. You're just a hater. You're just this. You're just that. You're just the other. What about our famous counterparts? These guys went in with scientific minds, or they were illusionists. They understood the areas that they looked into. So The Shape, myself, Mr. Grey, Mythos, Purple back in the day, the Side-Eye Guy, and all of these other debunkers that are starting to come through. That's what we're doing. It's not from a place of hate. While a lot of us will despise the fakery and the bullshit, a lot of us do this just because we simply want the truth. Is the paranormal real? For people like myself, Mythos, we believe that the paranormal is there. We believe that there is something more to it. Whereas the likes of the Side-Eye Guy, Mr. Grey, Kenny Biddle, they have never seen anything at all to convince them that the paranormal is real. They do not believe in the paranormal. However, they would like to believe in the paranormal. They would love to be proved wrong. They would be jumping up and down with joy that everything they thought was wrong, the ghosts and the paranormal are real. But it's easier to label them haters. The misidentification of debunking is almost as bad as the misidentification of ghosts sometimes, because people just see debunking as inherently evil and nasty and toxic. What is nasty, evil and toxic about the truth? Were Benjamin Radford, James Randi and the others that I've mentioned, were they evil people, or were they just people with scientific minds, with a with a door into illusions that the rest of us don't have, searching for the truth. Were they evil? No. Were they looking for the truth and using their real life skills to find said truth, only to come up empty-handed? Yes. And that is what us YouTube debunkers do. We're the equivalent. We're far less famous. Most of us far less scientifically trained, or none of it. I don't know if any of us have any background in magic. And there's nothing wrong with that, because where our strengths lay is in video editing. Or we've been paranormal investigators previously, or still are paranormal investigators. To debunk the equipment is not evil, nasty, or toxic, or horrible. To debunk the equipment is to educate people, for people to stop reading things wrong, like I have in the past. Where the toxicity is actually coming from is the people that know full well of those flaws, and they either ignore them for clicks and views, or they play them up for clicks and views with two-way radios and etc. The people that are faking or turning a blind eye to clearly not paranormal and claiming it as paranormal, and then arguing and sending their audiences in droves at the debunkers, that is where the toxicity lies. That is where the nastiness lies. I recently did a video on para-unity. There is no para-unity as long as these fakers are accepted as paranormal investigators. It cannot happen. When the side-eye guy says, Mindseed claim that they are in this haunted location and I have proved they're not in that location, not on that day, and that location has no haunted history, that's not nasty, that is fact. The nastiness is Mindseed portraying to their audience that they have been in contact with a spirit. 9 times out of 10, the people watching are there because they've lost someone. The fake paranormal channels are grief vampires. While I don't think they're quite as bad as the ITC channels, they're almost there. They're almost as bad as the likes of Really Haunted and Simply Strange's previous channel, Laney and Ben, where they try to convince people that they are under some sort of attack or that they have got family members in visitation, and they fake and they lie about their dead family. Yet, we are the bullies, we are the toxic ones, we are the nasty ones. So I hope you enjoyed that video. Please leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. It's just something I wanted to get off my chest for a bit, you know? The debunkers are fake, the debunkers are nasty, the debunkers are evil. We're not. And history proves that's not what we are. We are truth seekers. Do we make mistakes along the way? Yes. But we learn from those mistakes. We right our wrongs and we'll say, hey, I got that wrong. Much love to you all. Beardo out.